You're standing at the ironing board again, a wrinkled shirt in one hand. On the counter behind you, a receipt for a fabric steamer you've used maybe twice. Next to it, wrinkle release spray, fabric refresher, a lint tool. 4 products doing one job. Here's what I found after weeks of digging. The plain iron already sitting in your closet is the single most versatile tool the American home ever owned. One machine that once did the work of a dozen, and somewhere along the way we were quietly taught to forget almost everything it could do. I didn't set out to investigate an iron. I was cleaning out my grandmother's house, and I found her old flat iron, the heavy solid kind, sitting on a shelf like a paperweight. I remembered her heating it on the wood stove when I was a boy. And I remembered something she said that never left me. She said, "This one thing did everything." That sentence sent me down a trail through patent records, a household manual from 1832, and a stack of university studies I never expected to read. By the end, I'll show you a forgotten pressing trick from an old tailoring guide that gives you a crease sharp enough to last a week using nothing you'd have to buy. And I promise you this works in the home you already live in, tonight, with the iron you already own. So let me start where I started, with a question that seemed too simple to matter. Why is it called a sad iron? That was the first thread I pulled, and it unraveled everything. Because when I searched old catalogs and hardware records, that's the name that kept coming up. Not flat iron, sad iron. And sad, it turns out, is an old English word that simply means solid, heavy, dense. A sad iron was a solid block of iron you heated on the stove and pressed onto cloth. Now here's the part that stopped me. In 1871, a woman named Mary Florence Potts from Ottumwa, Iowa, patented a version that changed the whole country. Her design had 2 things nobody had thought to combine: a detachable wooden handle so it never got hot, and a pointed shape at both ends so you could iron in 2 directions without turning it around. She called it the cold handle sad iron. Think about what that means. A woman in Iowa, more than 150 years ago, engineered a better tool, patented it, and it sold across the entire nation. Her set came with 3 iron bodies and 1 handle. While you pressed with one, the other 2 reheated on the stove. You never stopped working, you never got burned. And that's the first clue, because notice what that tool was. It wasn't a single-use gadget. It was a system. Heavy, simple, built to last a lifetime, and built to do more than one thing. My grandmother's iron had no cord, no plastic, no little tank that clogs, and it still worked. But that only deepened the mystery, because if these irons were so good, so durable, so versatile, then why does the iron in your home today feel like a chore you avoid? Why do we own 4 separate products to fluff, freshen, and de-wrinkle a shirt when one heavy block used to do it all? I found the answer, and it's not an accident. It was a decision. Somebody made a lot of money the day we stopped thinking of the iron as a tool and started thinking of it as a nuisance. Let me explain how that happened. In June of 1882, a man named Henry W. Seeley in New York City received patent number 259,054 for the electric flat iron. That was the beginning of the modern iron. And on paper, it was progress. No more stove, no more soot, just plug it in. But here's what came with it. Once the iron had a cord and a plug and internal parts, it stopped being a simple block you could hand down to your granddaughter. It became an appliance. And appliances break. Appliances get replaced. Appliances get sold to you again and again and again. By the middle of the 1950s, companies weren't selling you one iron for life. They were selling you a new one every few years. Then they split the job. A steamer for curtains, a handheld one for travel, a spray for touch-ups. Each one solved a piece of a problem your grandmother's single iron solved by itself. And every split meant another box on the shelf, another cord in the drawer, another $20 or $30 out of your pocket. I added it up. The average household today spends money on an iron, a garment steamer, wrinkle release spray, and fabric refresher. Buy all 4, and you're easily past $80, sometimes well past $100, for what one durable tool handled for free once it was in the house. And most of those products are 90% water anyway. That's the shift I want you to see. We didn't get better tools, we got more tools, each doing less, each costing more, each designed to wear out. The iron didn't fail us. We were taught to forget what it could do, because a forgotten skill is a product waiting to be sold. But the deeper I dug, the more I realized the money was only half the story. Because the iron didn't just save clothes, it kept people well. And that's where this stops being about laundry and starts being about your health. Here's the clue that turned my whole investigation. Long before we had any of the sprays and machines, people ironed their sheets, their pillowcases, even their undergarments. And I always assumed that was just fussiness. Rich people showing off crisp linen. I was wrong. Ironing was hygiene. When I went looking through old home economics guidance and public health advice from the early 1900s, the message was consistent. You ironed with a hot iron because heat kills things. And modern research backs it up completely. The house dust mite, the tiny creature behind a huge share of indoor allergies and asthma flare-ups, cannot survive high heat. Studies on bedding and fabric show that heat well above 130 degrees Fahrenheit kills dust mites and denatures the allergens they leave behind. A hot iron, especially with a burst of steam, easily passes that. Think about what that means for the person watching this, who buys expensive anti-allergy sprays and hypoallergenic gadgets. You have a sanitizing tool in your closet. Press a hot iron over a pillowcase, a sheet, a pillow surface, and you are killing dust mites and bacteria with heat and steam alone. No chemicals, no monthly refill, no subscription. The same trick a nurse or a careful mother used a century ago, hiding in plain sight. And it goes further. That same heat freshens fabric and drives out the musty smell in stored linens, the smell people now mask with sprays. It's not masking. It's actually resetting the fibers with heat and a little moisture. Our grandparents weren't being formal. They were being smart. They understood that a hot iron was part cleaning tool, part medicine cabinet. So now I had two pieces of the puzzle, the iron used to save serious money and the iron used to protect people's health. Both of those uses got buried. And the question that kept me up was simple. If it was this good, how much did they have to make us forget to sell us the replacements? And more importantly, could a regular person tonight get all of it back? That's exactly where I want to turn now. Because I know some of you are thinking, this is for people with big laundry rooms and free afternoons. I thought that too. So let me talk directly to you. The person in a small apartment, the person with a bad back, the person who genuinely does not have time to iron sheets like it's 1920. This next part is for you, because everything I'm about to give you works with the plug-in iron you already own, in the space you already have, in a few minutes tonight. First, the water. This one thing extends the life of any iron you own and saves you from buying another. Most irons die from mineral scale, clogging the steam holes. Tap water is full of minerals, so use distilled water, which costs about $1 a gallon and lasts months. Old household guides told people to catch rainwater for their irons for exactly this reason, because soft water doesn't clog. That single habit can add years to a cheap iron and end the cycle of replacing them. Second, the glide. If your iron drags and sticks, you don't need a new one. Here's the forgotten fix. Take a piece of wax paper, lay it on a towel, sprinkle a little table salt on it, set your iron to medium heat with no steam, and run it over the salt and wax paper a few times. The salt scrubs the gunk off the sole plate, the wax leaves the faintest glide. Tailors and homemakers did versions of this for generations. Your iron will move like it's new. Third, the starch. You don't need a can of spray starch full of propellants. Old kitchens made their own for pennies. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch dissolved in about 2 cups of cold water, shaken in a spray bottle. Mist it lightly, iron it dry. You get that crisp collar and cuff, and a bottle costs almost nothing. And fourth, for the person who says they simply won't set up an ironing board, here's the truth I found in the old manuals. You don't need one. A thick towel folded on a sturdy table was the standard surface for generations. A firm, padded, flat spot is all pressing ever required. The board is a convenience, not a rule. Do you feel that? That's the feeling of getting something back. Four small things, no new purchases, and suddenly the tool in your closet is doing more than the four products on your shelf. That's what I mean when I say this was taken from us. Not stolen loudly, taken quietly, one forgotten habit at a time. And that finally brings me to something I want to share with you before we go further, because what I've been describing isn't just a story I pieced together for this video. This whole investigation, the patent records, the old household guides, the tailoring manuals, the health research, it all became a series of books. The first is called First Foundations, which covers the lost household systems your great-grandparents built their lives around. The second, Hidden Leverage, goes deeper into the tools and methods that convenience culture quietly replaced. And if you want the complete picture in one place, the complete system brings it all together. Every one of them is available in the description below, and if you felt that spark of recognition watching this, those books are where it goes next. But let's get back to the iron itself, because the story doesn't stop at laundry, and this is where things get genuinely surprising. Here's the clue that sent me off in a completely new direction. In several old household guides, the iron shows up in chapters that have nothing to do with clothing. It shows up under furniture, under floors, under candles, and I couldn't figure out why an iron would be in a chapter about wood. Then I tried it, and I understood. Start with candle wax, because this one is almost magical. Say wax drips onto a tablecloth, a carpet, or a wood surface. Everybody today reaches for a chemical solvent. The old method needs none. You scrape off the hard top layer, lay a brown paper bag or a plain paper towel over the wax, and press a warm iron on top. The heat melts the wax, the paper drinks it up, and you keep moving to a clean spot on the paper until it's gone. The stain lifts out of the fibers and into the paper. I watched candle wax disappear from a tablecloth in about 90 seconds, and I threw away nothing but a scrap of paper. Now the one that truly stunned me. Dents in wood, a crushed mark in a wood floor, a dresser, a table where something heavy landed. People pay to sand and refinish these. The old fix uses the iron and water, nothing else. You lay a damp cloth over the dent and press a hot iron on it for a few seconds at a time. The steam drives moisture into the crushed wood fibers. They swell back up, and the dent rises. It doesn't work on deep gouges where the wood is torn, but on a dent where the fibers are just compressed, I watch the wood come back up on its own. It felt like undoing time. And there's more in those pages. Pressing a warm iron over a damp patch dries it. A warm iron reactivates old glue to reset loose veneer or a lifting label. People use the iron to smooth out crumpled paper and flatten warped documents between sheets. This one heavy tool was a stain remover, a wood repair kit, a drying tool, and a glue press, all at once. That's not exaggeration. That's what it says in the guides. That's the versatility we lost. So now the picture's almost complete, and I want to name plainly what I only hinted at before. Nobody set out to hurt you, but an entire set of industries figured out something powerful. A person who knows one durable tool does 10 jobs is a person who buys almost nothing. A person who's forgotten is a customer for life. The steamer, the spray, the refresher, the solvent, the wood repair kit, the allergy product, each one is a piece of a job your grandmother's iron did for free. Every forgotten skill became a shelf at the store. And that finally brings me to the thing I promised you at the start. The one method that made all these old guides worth the search. Because pressing clothes everybody sort of knows, but getting a crease so sharp and so lasting that it looks professionally done, that's the secret the tailors kept, and I finally traced it. Here's where the trail ended, and I want you to know exactly where I found this, because it matters. The habit turns up in old tailoring practice and in household manuals reaching all the way back to the frugal housekeeping tradition, the same tradition captured in a book you can still look up, The American Frugal Housewife by Lydia Maria Child, first published in 1832. That whole world of knowledge was built on one idea: waste nothing and make every tool earn its keep. And out of that world comes the pressing secret. Everyone thinks a crease comes from a hotter iron. It doesn't. A crease comes from steam, pressure, and a clever bit of chemistry. And the tailor's method has three parts. First, the moisture. You don't spray water. You mix a solution of 1 part white vinegar to about 2 parts water in a bottle. The mild acid in the vinegar relaxes and sets the fibers in a way plain water can't, and it leaves no smell once it's pressed dry. This is the piece almost nobody knows. Second, and this is the heart of it, you never drag the iron along the crease. You press. You set the iron down onto the fold, hold it, lift it, and set it down again a little further along. Dragging stretches and blurs the line. Pressing, straight down, sets it. Tailors call this pressing, not ironing, and it is the whole difference between amateur and professional. Third, the press cloth. You lay a thin cotton cloth, a clean handkerchief works, over the fabric and press through it. This protects the cloth from shine and holds the steam against the fibers longer, which is what makes the crease last for days instead of hours. For the sharpest possible line, tailors used a heavier damp cloth and pressed until the steam stopped rising, a technique they called setting the seam. So here's the whole method, and you can do it tonight. Mist the fold lightly with your vinegar water solution. Lay a cotton press cloth over it, set the iron down firmly, hold for about 10 seconds, lift, and move along the line. Don't drag. Let it cool for a moment before you move the garment, because the crease actually sets as it cools, not while it's hot. That last detail, letting it cool under its own weight, is the piece the manuals stressed and modern instructions leave out entirely. That's it. Vinegar to set the fibers, pressing instead of dragging, a cloth to hold the steam, and cooling to lock it in. A razor crease that survives a full day and more, from a bottle of water and vinegar that costs almost nothing, using the iron you already own. This is the knowledge that existed, got buried under a wall of products, was quietly kept alive in old tailoring shops and older books, and now sits in your hands again. I tried it on a shirt collar and a pair of trousers, and I honestly couldn't believe I'd paid for pressing and sprays my whole adult life when the real method was written down before the Civil War. So here's what I want you to walk away feeling. Not that you learned a laundry tip, that you took something back. A tool your family already owns was quietly demoted from a lifelong companion to a chore, and everything it used to do got sold back to you in pieces. Tonight, you got the whole thing back. You are the kind of person who refuses to keep renting the skills your grandparents owned outright. That's why you made it to the end of this. You'd rather know how something works than keep paying someone to hide it from you. And now you know. So do one thing for me. Tell me in the comments which one you're trying first. Is it the brown paper trick to lift candle wax, the damp cloth to raise a dent out of your wood, or the vinegar press for that tailor's crease? Pick one and type it below. I read them, and I want to know which forgotten skill hit you hardest, because it tells me where to dig next. And if you felt that spark, the feeling of recovering something that was taken from all of us, then come with me. This isn't a channel. It's a group of people quietly rebuilding the knowledge that convenience culture buried, one lost skill at a time. Subscribe and stand with us, because the next thread I'm pulling is a big one. I found a household record showing that people used to keep a common kitchen staple in the medicine cabinet, not the pantry, and the reason why was erased on purpose. I traced where it went, and when I show you, you'll never look at your kitchen the same way again. Until then, keep that iron close, because we're only getting started, and the next thing I show you is going to change how you see every ordinary object in your home. I hope today was useful. If you're still with me, I'd love to have you closer inside the Practical Wisdom Circle. This video was the overview inside. I take you into ironing board mastery, picking up right where we stopped. Ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You're not alone here. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime, one click, no risk.